Živijo, tukaj je Anže, poslušate oddajo Aparatus, kjer legitimni člani družbe povejo, kaj počnejo v življenju. Tole je 21. epizoda Aparatusa, ki je bila posneta 16. maja 2013 in sicer z Mikeom Hurleyjem, ki je Anglež, tako da bo tale v angleščini, to pol še enkrat povem v pogovoru, ampak sem toliko, da veste, angleščina, tole ne bo slovenščina. To se ne bi smeli rimati. V glavnem. Mike sicer v pogovoru pove, kaj počne, ampak bom jaz zaradi konteksta par besed še povedal. On živi v Londonu in je ustvaril svojo mrežo podcastov, ki je imela na eni točki 12 oddaj. Pred kratkim pa ga je kupila mreža 5x5.tv, ki jo vodi Dan Benjamin in je po mojem ena od 3 največjih podcast mrež na svetu, ki premore tone in tone poslušalcev. Jaz njihove šove ful redno poslušam, predvsem Mikea poslušam v 3 različnih šovih, v katerih tudi govoriva v pogovoru in sem bil pač neverjetno vesel, ko je rekel, da bo z mano govoril za Aparatus. Tako da ja, še enkrat tale v angleščini, zdaj pa se počasi začne. Evo, Mike Hurley. I just need to turn off. I have a new Sony review device and I just don't want any bells and whistles going off.
Yeah, that's the dance of turning things to silent.
I have like 4 e-readers here, which are fine, I guess. I hope.
I can't imagine they're going to make too much noise.
But this Sony, the Xperia SP, I just heard about it today and just got the box today.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it's a crappier version of the Z.
It's a smaller one, right? It's smaller.
Yeah, it's a little smaller, and the screen is also not HD, so it's like 720p, I guess. No, well, not full HD. So yeah, but it has this weird, I think it's a notification light. Like the whole, maybe half a centimeter at the bottom is made of glass. And then there's LEDs inside. And when I changed the theme, it just lit up. But just, I don't know. I think it's a notification light, but when I get mail and stuff, nothing lights up.
It's watching you.
Yeah.
It knows what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm scared. So, okay, that's off now. So I'm going to freak you out with a Slovene intro.
Okay.
So just bear with me for
Yeah, no, that
seconds.
is no problem. I understand.
Yeah, and then we can start. So,
cool,
okay, I'm just gonna start speaking a weird language now. So,
cool.
Tale epizoda Aparatusa bo pač v angleščini, zaradi tega, ker pač bo v angleščini, ne bo v slovenščini. Govorim pa z Mikeom Hurleyjem, ki bo pol povedal, kaj točno počne, ampak kdorkoli tole posluša, zdaj se bo začela angleščina, ker je pač to prva stvar, ki jo delam v angleščini na Aparatusu. Tako da zdaj bom pa začel angleš govoriti, tako da zdaj poslušajte. Okay, so that was a Slovene intro.
What I caught from that was my name and you saying that we're going to be talking in English.
That was pretty much it. Because I just wanted to say that out loud, because if anybody just clicked play or whatever, I just don't want it to start in English, because that'd just be weird. Because every other interview I've done has been in Slovene, so. Yeah,
so I guess it would be a bit of a culture shock to them, right?
Yeah, basically.
I'm sorry that my Slovene is not just no good, it's non-existent.
Yeah, which I wanted to ask, you've seen my name, right?
Yeah.
When I emailed you, how would you pronounce that?
Anže Tomic.
Oh, you actually got the ch right.
Yeah.
Which, that usually never happens, but it's actually Anže, because the Z has a little V on it, usually. Right. But I just don't write in that, because every time I talk to anybody foreign, just that doesn't go through.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with many sort of Eastern European and European people in my working life, so I'm used to the way that some characters are pronounced, and to always go with my gut on it, you know?
Yeah, but every time I talk to British people, my first name, the most I get out of them is Angie, or like some sort of a girl's variation of. Yeah,
I might just start calling you Angie now. Is that okay?
This was a mistake. Okay, we should start now.
We should.
Okay, so my first question is kind of basic. So, who are you and what do you do?
So, I am Mike Hurley. I am a podcaster. A couple of years ago, I started podcasting and set up a network of my own called 70 Decibels, which we were recently acquired by the 5x5, so that's sort of my new home. So I am a podcaster on the 5x5 network.
But you do that after your proper job, right?
Yeah.
You actually have a full-time job and then you podcast.
Yeah, I have a full-time job. I work for a big finance company and I do marketing for them. And then in my evenings, my sort of hobby / pseudo career is in podcasting.
Then my next question was, because I started listening to you guys actually at the Command Space, the Bro Show actually before that, yeah.
Good.
So I started listening to you back then, and you seem like a radio guy. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, why do you like the audio stuff? And
I think I've always enjoyed podcasting since I first heard it back in like 2005. It's always something that appeals to me. I'm not much of a reader. I don't really enjoy reading. So podcasting is better for me because, if I want to find out news and stuff, like tech news, when I was really interested in finding it out that way, I would go to podcasts and stuff for that. So that was good. And also for me as wanting to create, in the same vein that I don't really like to read too much, I also find it not difficult to write, but I find it very, very time consuming. And I feel like I can get my feelings out easier and a lot quicker when it comes to podcasting because I just speak and I really enjoy it. And as a creative output, it's my favorite. And I've tried many, I tried to be a blogger, but it didn't really get much success and I didn't really enjoy it. Like I've always sort of come to blogging in very short bursts. So I'll write a lot in a couple of weeks and then the fun sort of goes away for me. But with podcasting, I've been doing it non-stop every week for 3 and a bit years now, and I love it just as much as the first time.
When you said you're not much of a reader, right? In my experience, when I still do work in radio, there's two kinds of people that go on air, right? There's the reader types, which are basically great for news and stuff. And then there's the guys that just basically, or girls, that just, like proper DJs, the people that come in between the songs. I just want to know, why do you think you are not a reader and more of a DJ type person?
I just have a very short attention span.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
That kind of breaks it down for me. I can read some quick, stories or whatever in RSS and tech stuff, but I'm terrible at reading books. I can't remember the last book that I read cover to cover. I just lose interest very, very quickly in things like that. And I struggle to just sit and read a book for an hour. I just get too distracted and I just think of other things. I want to do this, I'm sure that if somebody was to just sit and watch me on my computer, for a couple of hours, they would think that I was insane. I'm constantly sort of moving between things. And I'll just spend hours just going from Twitter to, maybe to Facebook and then to RSS, and then I'll go somewhere else, and then I might play a game for 5 minutes, and then I might go back to RSS again, and then I might read a comic book. I'm just a person that I just struggle to focus on things for a very, very long time. So reading is just something that, for me, requires that focus. If you want to read something, you're right, I need to sit down and read this now. So it just doesn't really fit with my brain style, I guess. And
then I heard you say once that you're not a fan of doing live stuff, but you've been doing more live stuff now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I initially was saying that before I'd really done it. And it was
that's the thing, I think.
Yeah. It was I was kind of scared of it a bit. I was quite intimidated by it, and I thought that I wouldn't enjoy it. And that maybe there was a part of me that was just intimidated, I think is probably the best way to say, because it's a totally different thing. With what we're doing right now, me and you are just talking, and in my brain, I have no idea how many people are going to hear this. We both don't really, at this stage. That's just the nature of pre-recording things. And also sometimes it doesn't really feel like there's even an audience. When I'm recording a show with Matt or Steven or any of the other co-hosts that I work with, it just ends up feeling like two friends talking. Or an interview show that I do. Oh, I'm just talking to Gina Trapani or Brian Brushwood or any of these cool people that I talk to. And you can kind of disassociate the fact that there is an audience. And for me, that kind of removes the performance aspect of what I'm doing. But then when you put in a live audience, an audience that is interacting with you in real time, sometimes you can see how many people are actually listening. It adds a total different dimension to what you're doing, and it makes it more of a performance because your mistakes are, they're brought out to you in real time, which typically is not the case. So if I make a mistake in a pre-recorded show, someone might tell me about it, but it's too late then, I'm not going to go and re-record the episode because of it. I might bring it up next week, but you've got that right there, people to pull you up on things. But also it's just a totally different type of thing to what I've done. Like I remember when I first started podcasting, I was very nervous, but I'm used to this now. So it's just something new. But as I've done more of it, which is, I've been guests with people that have live streamed and stuff, I'm becoming a lot more comfortable with it and starting to see the benefits of having like a chat room and stuff like that. So I do plan to actually start taking advantage of the 5x5 live stream some point in the near future, but I just need to get some of the technical stuff worked out first.
You're going to start to enjoy it eventually, that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I do.
Because live is always better.
Yeah, I live streamed Command Space yesterday because...
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I listened to a part of it. So
because Moises, who is part of 5x5, he has all of the stuff set up on his end. So it was just easy, and it was fine. I mean, I was distracted by the chat room a little bit. But it's fun, like the title suggestions I really enjoy, so having people pick out the titles, because that's something that I sometimes totally forget to do and spend like 10 minutes trying to work out a title for the episode. So it's kind of cool to have that feedback. And it was nice as well, like people were it was nice to see people having conversations around the stuff that we were talking about, but it is kind of distracting as well at the same time. But I just need to balance that.
So you think that the anxiety will go away eventually, or do you think that's going to always be there when you do live stuff? When you look at it now, because you haven't done it much, I guess.
Yeah, I know it's going to, because I'm already more comfortable with it. Like, I was on the frequency quite a bit for a while when they were doing it daily. I was sort of their Thursday guest, and that kind of made me comfortable with it, really. And now, whenever I do live stuff, I'm actually a lot more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, it's never going to go really away. It never all goes away, which is good, because I think that's actually one of the best aspects of doing live stuff. Because there's always that edge there. People are just waiting for you to fail. And the thing I love is when you do make a mistake, when you really pull out of it live, that's the best feeling ever. Seriously, dude, you have to experience that more often. Because that's the best thing. Like you said, when you do record the stuff, you can just, ignore it and maybe do a follow-up thing the next time. But when it's live, you can actually worm your way out of it. That's the best thing there is. At least in my experience, in live radio, that's the best thing ever.
And also, I mean, what you've got on the other end is if I need an answer to something, I've got a bunch of people that are ready to find it for me. That's kind of cool. And I haven't really been able to take advantage of that yet, but that will be good. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, saying about the nerves, the nerves are always there. Even when I'm doing a pre-recorded thing, there's always an element of excitement and nerves. So I don't expect it to ever go away in full. But it's with the interviews and stuff that I do, all of the nerves are manageable now, and that's what I like. So and I'm able to turn that into excitement. I'm recording with Merlin later on today, and I'm really excited about it. The first time I spoke to him, I was terrified.
That was probably the correct response. Even following him in a conversation, just listening to the guy is hard enough, but actually having to engage, that probably is crazy.
And also, you just know that people are going to listen to it. People that it's with any guest really, but with somebody of his sort of stature, you're going to have people that have never heard you before, and you have to sell yourself to them. One of the main reasons, not the main reasons, but a good reason to have a show that has guests on it is it enables you every week to reach a new audience, because there will be people that are coming to the show just to listen to that. So you have that one opportunity to try and get new listeners. And it's working, it does work. I mean, you see the numbers go up when the show, in its first incarnation, the Bro Show, which you mentioned earlier, which is the first podcast that I ever did, that started off with 10 listeners, and I don't even know where they came from. And then, that moves up over the years, into the show then became Command Space, and it receives thousands and thousands of listeners every week. irrespective of the guest. And then you have anything extra that comes from that, from having somebody awesome on, who promotes the show and gets their audience to come and listen. So, there is, that's one of the things that I love about that sort of stuff, but it adds a whole new layer of excitement and sort of, nerves into the equation.
Yeah, and I guess when it's Merlin, that's times 10.
Yeah, he's about as big as he gets, 250,000 followers on Twitter. I mean, he's, in our sort of side of the internet, he is an absolute rock star.
There is no arguing that. Okay, when you mentioned the numbers, I just want to talk to you about that blog post you did for Stephen Hackett. Yeah, the whole quantity versus quality. Because I've had like a running theme on this podcast with people that just like to do stuff the right way and the people that don't do it the right way.
Sure.
And can you just talk about that whole quality versus quantity?
So this is an interesting thing. I don't really know where the thought came from, like why it took me so long to get to that point, but it was when listening to, I bring up Merlin again, a talk that he did with John Gruber at South by Southwest, I think in 2009. It's either 2007 or 2009. I can't remember off the top of my head. So that's why we need a chat room, right? Because they could just correct me now. They talk a lot in that talk about obsession times voice and the perfect reader and things like that. So when they're talking about the perfect reader, it's imagining for them the person that they want to create for. So let's say, for example, if I use somebody like Merlin again, he's going to be the running theme of the show today.
No, that's fine.
So
he usually is. So.
Yeah, I think everywhere, So let's say that I want to create a show that I would love Merlin to enjoy and listen to. Like that's kind of my goal, is to have people like him listen to the show. Someone like Marco listen to the show. People that I really look up to and value the opinions of. Like that's become something that's been really important to me. So what I made a decision, like I just made a conscious decision that was what I was going to focus on and not obsessively check the numbers of the shows. At one point I was checking the statistics, the download statistics for 12 podcasts multiple times a day. Like that's too much. Like that is enough to drive you insane, because a lot of the time it's really difficult to try and understand why those numbers are changing. And there can be so many different factors that can attest to it. Sometimes you can work out some correlations between them and some patterns, but it's actually really difficult to do that.
Yeah, it's still voodoo. I mean, it's like all analytics. It's mostly voodoo, basically. Voodoo
is a really great way of describing it. So I just came to the decision, and this kind of did coincide with Command Space, really. I'd had success with with everything that I'd done up to that point. I'd had a modicum of success, but what Command Space did was it opened the doors for me to get into a sort of a different echelon of people. So like I had Merlin on the first episode, and then, followed it up with other incredible guests. And the more, cool people you have on your show, the more people find out about your show, right? The more other cool people find out about it, because, they'll see it keep popping up in RSS or on Twitter or whatever, I was on Command Space today. And then it was sort of, when I started seeing people mention it, and I think one of the turning points was when Build and Analyze ended. Marco posted on marco.org a list of shows that he recommended that people listen to now that his show had ended, and Command Space was one of them. And it was that post that helped me form my new sort of thinking about statistics. And it's that I was so chuffed to see that he, so just amazed that he listened to the show and recommended it to people. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, I could find ways to try and boost the overall listener numbers of the show. Like, there are just things that you can cotton onto after a certain amount of time, things that you think people might like. And, there are ways that you can kind of try and trick systems and things like that. But I decided, what was the benefit of that in the long run? I have a real big audience, but an audience that doesn't actually care, because the way that I would have, got to them is by kind of tricking them, and there is no affinity built. So I decided that what I wanted to do was to work my hardest to create a good value, a real good product that people would value, that they cared about. Something that people wanted to tune in to listen to every week because it was good. and not because I found them somehow and convinced them to listen in some way. So, and I think that that's what I've kind of set out to create, and I think I'm getting to that point with Command Space, because I know that there are people that I love that listen to the show. And once I started to see all of these things happen, it just showed me that really the important thing is that I create a real good quality product, and then get real good quality listeners. And the more of them that I have, the more people will hear about the show through recommendations and just through people talking about the show, and, you know, getting more great guests because they know that what they're going to come to is a quality interview show. And then this started to permeate out to all of the other shows that I do. And, I really just check the numbers for those shows like once a month to work out who gets paid what. Other than that, I might not even check. I might check them barely ever at all. And it's a difficult thing to do. And there was still, like, you know, I would maybe check Command Space more than the others, just because it was the newest, you know, but I still wouldn't be checking it multiple times a day, every day. And it just made me feel better, because then when I would come back, I'd be like, oh, the last 3 episodes of The Pen Addict have been going really well, and it's now one of the biggest shows that I do. And that's just a cool thing. And I'm like, well, obviously that's just because we've been concentrating on making the best show that we can make. And that feels a lot better than, oh, this guest brought in this amount. Oh no, this guest hasn't, because you're checking it every week.
Okay, so this is going to be a great segue to The Pen Addict, because that's a show that should not exist, if you know what I mean.
I understand 100%.
Because it's, I just explain The Pen Addict, because I can't.
The Pen Addict is a weekly podcast that I do with Brad Dowdy, who runs and has run a blog for many years of the same name, The Pen Addict. And it's a weekly audio podcast in which we talk about pens and paper, like new stuff that we like, old stuff that we like, topics. You know, we might talk about, I don't know, the best pens for a left-handed person, or we might talk about what different types of nib sizes do, you know, like on a fountain pen, you've got like broad nibs and fine nibs. But mainly it's me and him sharing, our personal obsession and collections of pens that we have, and just every week just coming and being able to talk about it. It's a show that couldn't exist anywhere except a podcast, because there is nobody that can tell me and Brad that we can't do that show. And the show has actually had great success. Like, it's a very popular show, for me, and the community around it is incredibly engaged. I have shows that have 3 or 4 times the download numbers and listener numbers, you know, the audience basically of the Pen Addict. But I hear the most from Pen Addict listeners, you know, on social networks and email. It's the most feedback we get, because the thing about that is it's such a niche. It's such a niche.
Yeah.
That there isn't anything for these people. Like, people that enjoy podcasts, that have an obsession with pens, don't have anywhere else to go, really. There's a couple of places, but some of the stuff that I've checked out hasn't been the greatest quality. There is some stuff, but a lot of that actually did come after our show. So, you know, we kind of have that audience cornered out now. And I'm sure that at some point we're going to reach the logical maximum amount of people that will have the show, you know, because at some point you're going to find everyone. But this is one of the things that I love about podcasting is you can service so many niches. I mean, this is the internet in general, right? It's all about servicing niches. But every podcast, contrary to popular belief, does not have to be about Apple News. And what me and Brad have created is something that's really different and a lot of fun. And it is, you know, frequently one of, if not the favorite show that I record every week, because I get to talk about something that I only get to talk about once a week. And I love it. It's great fun.
When I just read the description of the show, I was like, I am not going to listen to 2 guys talk about pens, basically. That was my initial reaction. The reason I started listening was basically because I heard my dad does like industrial and graphic design. And he made his own pen, basically.
No.
And he just talked about the ballpoints that you can put in it for like half an hour to me. And that kind of made me realize that maybe there's something to it, and he cannot be alone. And I'm one of you people now, which is sad, I guess.
There are so many.
I don't know.
This is the thing, right? This is the problem with the Pen Addict. And I think it's because me and Brad love this stuff that our passion for our obsession is infectious, because there are so many people that contact me like you and say, I didn't really care about this stuff, but now I've just spent $60 and I'm ruined and my wife hates me, is an email that we get all the time. And it's cool. I like it. You know, I don't want anybody's family to hate them, but I assume they're joking. You know, if your pen addiction is causing you problem in your family life, then please stop listening to the show and reassess what's happening. But, I love making the show, and I love that there are people like you who have come to the show and found it and now have a new addiction along with the rest of us.
Yeah, so I'm glad somebody's happy. So I just want to talk to you about one more of your shows, and then we'll go into like a broader conversation about the internet and stuff, because I have some things to talk about there. But
sure.
Bionic, right, which is you and Matthew Alexander, I guess I should say. When you started doing Bionic, was the plan always to consciously focus on stuff that's not Apple?
Yeah. So basically, hang on 1 second. I need to take a drink of water. I don't think I've ever done this before.
That's fine. I'm going to do the same. So we can just, I'm just going to leave this in. So just,
yeah, of course.
The two, yeah.
You have to leave it in. Never edit for content. Basically, I wanted to create a show about Android. That's what I wanted to do. I don't know where this desire came from. At the time, I didn't even have an Android phone. I'd had Android devices in the past, but I planned to buy an Android phone and create a show that covered Android. And I couldn't find a co-host. Nobody would do the show with me. Nobody. I contacted friends, people that I thought would be interested. Nobody wanted to do it. And then, I mean, I'd known Matt for a bit. I'd had him on as a guest on a couple of shows, and we'd become friends, you know, like, yeah, we were friendly because, you know, we were both British and you know, we had that link there. And I think it was Stephen Hackett who said to me, you should convince Matt. And I basically then took a couple of weeks doing my best to convince him to do the show with me. And over the conversation, the way that I was able to convince him was to end up agreeing that it wouldn't be just about Android. It would be about, as Matt put it, ecosystems that competed to Apple's. And that's sort of how the show was born. So what we now have created is a show in which we talk about technology, but don't have shows about what Apple does. That's the thing. That's why I like the show. When Bionic comes out, that's it. I just listen to it right away. That's the only show I do that for. And this is flattery, but just roll with it. No, I love hearing it. So thank you for saying it. Yeah. So, but the thing is, because I love that conscious decision of just not being in one camp or the other, which is so prevalent ever since the iPhone came out. That's been the whole narrative of the entire tech industry. It's just been these little tribes of people just yelling at each other and throwing stuff. So how much of the aversion to that kind of tribal mentality went into that decision? Well, see, it's one of those things, like I'd been a professed Apple fanboy for years, but I just wanted to try some new things. And over the course of the show, both of mine and Matt's opinions about the way that technology is covered has changed. And we're both more open, excuse the turn of phrase, to other companies now. I mean, we are both big fans of what Google is doing, as well as what Apple is doing. And I feel like I personally am much more objective than I was before. You know, previously I would be listening to shows or reading tweets or blogs, you know, with other people that are big fans of what Apple does. And I would be like going on, be like, yeah, Google is evil, Open is stupid. But now I feel like I fight both sides of the camp a lot more, and I think Matt's the same. So, you know, I see people complaining, because I now have a more varied Twitter stream, you know, and not as many, but I have a bunch of like Google fanboys in there now too. And I will see them say, oh, Apple is stupid, they did X. Closed is ridiculous. And I'll say, well, no, this is why I think, I think that a closed app store is great because of the curation that you get in a closed app store. And then but I see that an open app store is great because it allows applications that couldn't exist otherwise. Apps like Tasker for Android and stuff like that. Apps that allow me to change my launcher and customize it the way that I want. I see benefits of both sides. And I'm really happy now that in this camp that I'm in. I mean, I now have an Android phone that I love. I use an iPad because I wouldn't go near an Android tablet. I've had them, don't like them. And I use Macs. And I honestly, I feel like I could go, I could switch back to the iPhone tomorrow if there was a reason that I wanted to. And it wouldn't bother me because I know that I would go back to Android as well if I felt that it was the right thing. So I feel a lot more platform agnostic now, and I'm happy. I'm happy that I started Bionic because it allowed me to sort of open my eyes to other things that were going on in and around the world of technology.
And Bionic is also a show about pleasurable cruises, right? That's the...
Yeah.
That's the other. Because I just love the fact that you actually had to explain when you guys moved to 5x5. You actually had to explain that you do not talk about.
No, I feel like I have to explain to people that don't understand Matt what he's doing. He has a very specific comedy styling that I enjoy, and I think a lot of people enjoy. But if you are unaware of the backstory of these things, you won't understand. And the thing about him is he will not give you the opportunity. Like, he will just say it. He'll be like, yeah, sexy cruise. And that's it. Like, and he won't, like, oh, this is what the sexy cruise is. He would, I think, prefer it if we didn't explain it. But, within the first 2 minutes of the show on 5x5, he's already talking about pleasurable cruises, which doesn't make any sense. And so he has to be, I feel like I have to rein him in sometimes, which is fun, I think, for people that listen.
Yeah, and also because you two are both British, I imagine the American audience takes everything you guys say a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of the accent.
I don't know how we're perceived by our audience. I presume it's well, but I think...
Well, you guys have a dynamic, and that's a good one is pretty rare.
Yeah, we're extremely close friends. And he is one of the people that I know online that I have actually seen multiple times. We've had dinner together, we've had lunch together, we've had breakfast together. Not at the same time. That kind of sounds as weird as Matt would make it sound.
Yeah, I was just yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have he has come to London many times in the last year or so, and every time he's here we spend time together because it would be stupid if we didn't, because we're very close friends, and that's great. And I will be spending lots of time with him at WWDC, which I'm very, very excited about and looking forward to a lot.
You're sharing a hotel room with Stephen, right?
Sharing with Stephen, yep. Me and Stephen are sharing together. Matt has probably got a boat somewhere that he's sleeping on.
Okay, now I want to talk to you about the internet, because the one thing I always, when I'm angry at you guys, like I'm not like angry,
sure.
When I get really frustrated, is because everything you talk about in technology is basically just America and the UK, which is like to everybody else in like Eastern and Central Europe is basically the same thing. And what I mean is like stuff like autocorrect and stuff like that. All of that stuff works way better in English.
Oh, I'm sure. That doesn't surprise me.
That's the one area where you guys really just gloss over a bunch of crap that we have to live with, basically.
Yeah, it's a shame because I don't see it.
Yeah, that's the thing. How aware are you of stuff like that? And the fact that maybe the rest of the world really doesn't get everything on Amazon and Netflix and
I know that. I mean, I totally get that because in the UK we get a raw deal. So I am sympathetic to that. I mean, we get a lot better than you guys. But it's bad compared to the States, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm sympathetic to that. But specific issues, I mean, it sounds terrible. The only ones that I ever know is the stuff that Federico Viticci complains about. That makes me see a bit like, one of his wishes for iOS 7 is like, to be able to select languages for maps, which nobody else would even consider, because what American person needs a different language for their maps, you know?
Yeah, and that's just the thing. When I write my name, I never use the proper lettering, like anywhere, like
Sure.
even not just online. Forget phones, because I never know what's going to happen on the other side. Like the first time I ordered something from America through eBay, I wrote my name like I write my name with our letters, with the Z, with the little V, and the C with the thing on it, right? I bought some shoes because I'm tall. And like, the shoes didn't get to me for like, I think 2 months or something, because the person that I bought them from, his printer couldn't understand the 2 letters. So it was just gibberish. So he sent them to the right address, but the postman couldn't find me because it was like, my name was like A-N and then just a string of numbers.
That doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, see, that's the strange stuff, right? Because those characters, the accented characters, don't exist in English, but they do in so many other languages that use the Roman alphabet. It's so strange that we are so insular that we don't see that. And I can appreciate that for listeners outside the US and the UK and other just native English speaking countries, how they can get frustrated with us. I totally understand that. Like, I imagine that the frustration bleeds into all of these types of publications and broadcasting companies and stuff, because we only cover the stuff that we are familiar with and we see.
Okay, that was like my pet peeve when you guys talk. Sorry, I have to, like, this is one of those rare occasions when I say stuff in my mind, I can actually say it to you and you have to respond. So,
well, see, it's like, what other chance do you get to say this to someone, you know?
Yeah, but it's like really underreported, because I write for a tech magazine. I just did a big piece on e-readers.
Sure.
Like which one to get and what. And like the first thing is the language. That I think like the second sentence I had to write was like, if you can like read English or maybe French and German, just get the Kindle and be done with it. That's pretty much like all the advice a person needs. But if you only read Slovene, you're screwed basically.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of stuff, it seems weird. It's not like I get why you guys don't talk about it too much because you live there and it doesn't matter. But I just wanted to ask like how much you're aware of it. And I guess you are. And Federico is like a perfect example of this stuff. Yeah, I saw that iOS wishlist thing and I was like, yes.
Yeah, because he has a great, like, a platform to speak from and to get these feelings out. I guess he's like an advocate for the rest of Europe, right? Yeah,
that's why I like his stuff, honestly. Yeah. Seriously, like when I listened to the Command Space episode you did with him, right? When you read his stuff, his English is basically flawless, right? But when I heard him talk to you, he's like an average Italian speaking English.
Yeah.
Because, we neighbor Italy, so I have experience with Italians speaking English, and it's never great. But,
Yeah, to me, to my untrained ear, there are some similarities between your accent and his. And that would make sense considering the countries are so close together.
You think so, but our languages are just not even in the same.
No, the languages are nowhere near the same. But the
just the accent,
yeah, the accents sound quite. There are some sounds which I pick up from you that I will hear from him.
Yeah, well, we pronounce the G correctly. It's not a G and stuff like that. We can read and okay. Anyway. No, because I love the whole Z and the Z stuff you guys do, right? And the H and H.
Yeah,
and it's a H. That's how it's supposed to sound. But we're not going to go into that. I just want to, I have another question. When you mention niches and this stuff like, with the Pen Addict, when you can get that many listeners, I guess, because the world's this big. But how much of like Britishness do you think there is in your stuff? Because your audience is mainly American, or am I wrong there?
No, it is by a long way.
Yeah. How big are podcasts in Britain?
I don't know. I mean, I assume that proportionally they're the same. I mean, our countries are very similar, America and the UK. So I don't, there's no reason for me to believe that, like, say 5% of the US population listen to podcasts. I would assume that would be the same in the UK. Like, I don't think there would be anything specific about either country which would suggest that one does more than the other, you know? proportionally. But I think just because of the sheer number of people is why the audiences are so large. When it comes to UK podcasters, I know some. But it seems that in the area of the internet that I am a part of, I'm the only one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, I know other British podcasters, but they're not involved in whatever our part of the internet would be called, because there are so many different parts of it. You know, the part where, like, Gruber's on top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There aren't really any that seem to operate in that circle. I mean, maybe you've got somebody like Don McAllister.
Oh yeah, no, the screencast guy, right?
Yeah, like he is a voice that permeates this side, and to me is like, off the top of my head anyway, is the only one that I can think of. Like there's a podcasting network called the British Tech Network, which I know some of the people that do some stuff there. You know, Don actually participates in their Mac show that they do, and I've done some stuff with them, some live shows and that, you know, just sort of like British podcasters standing together. But then like, we then tend to have loads of independent stuff, and then the BBC, right? The BBC are very prolific with podcasting. It's something they picked up. And a lot of BBC radio shows have their own shows. But I think it's why, I mean, we have and had a great relationship with iTunes in the UK, to the point where they made us one of their featured providers. Now, I was sitting in the featured providers list along with like national radio stations and international broadcasting companies on the UK podcast store, because there aren't that many UK networks of any size. So I think that they were happy that there was somebody independent based in the United Kingdom who was doing this stuff, and that was why they wanted to feature us. And they did. You know, it was great. I mean, and I'm really, really happy that they did, because I think it helped open us up to even more people, you know. And it was nice just to have that recognition from them.
Yeah, it's the same here actually, because we have like our version of the BBC, and there's a group of guys there that are trying to push shows into into iTunes. So like right now, the top 10 podcasts are basically my stuff, which is 2 podcasts, and then another independent crew, and everything else is basically the Slovene BBC.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to ask that, because I just wanted to know if it's the same there, because when I checked the UK iTunes store, that's the impression I got. So it's good to know that we're not the only ones in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, then another thing I wanted to ask you, because you're a podcaster, like, could you recommend some stuff that's not your own, because we went through your main shows, but some stuff that people might want to listen to, even if it's tech related or not?
I think, I would love to, and I don't want to talk about 5x5 stuff.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just like some stuff that maybe isn't that well known, or you know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, because I guess people know the 5x5 shows that I listen to, right? You know, we all listen to them. Maximum Fun is a network that I've recently come across. Jesse Thorne is the host of that network. And there's a couple of shows that I've been enjoying there. Jordan Jesse Go is one. I mean, they are big, but I don't know. I mean, I'd known of them, but I hadn't listened. And also Judge John Hodgman. It's a great.
Oh, that's awesome. I listened to that one.
Great show. I love it. And after only a couple of episodes, or basically after listening to my first episode of both of those, I became a Maximum Fun donor.
Yeah, because the Hodgman podcast is the best in-car podcast you can have.
I can imagine it is, actually.
Because that's like live radio. It's just way funnier than anything they do.
What I love about Judge John Hodgman is that it is a different format. It is a totally unique format, and that's what I love about it. You know, it's as if it's set in a courtroom. It's very, very clever. There's a show on a network called the Frog Pants Network called Comic Dorks that I enjoy. It's a comic book show for people that enjoy such things. Pat Drybur's 100 Down show is very entertaining. It's like a health and fitness type show, but Pat is always good fun, so it's good to listen to him. It says he's trying to lose 100 pounds. Yeah,
I've listened to a couple of his episodes. I like his stuff anyway, so yeah, that's a good one. There's
a small network called SSKTN. So it's those letters. It's run by my friend Chris Enns. I believe the SSKTN stands for Saskatoon, which is where he lives in America. And he has a couple of shows that I enjoy. One's called Show Me Your Mic, where he interviews podcasters, so naturally I enjoy that. And another show called Too Lazy to Blog, which he does along with another couple of podcasters that I enjoy, called Tim Smith, who has a show called The East Wing, and also Adam Clark, who has a show called The Gently Mad, which is a design show. The East Wing and The Gently Mad are both design shows, but they got together and did this episode. It's kind of self-serving for me in a way. The three of them got together and did an episode of Too Lazy to Blog where they spoke about the acquisition of my network. And I listened to it, right, because I wanted to see what they had to say, because I knew I'd spoken to them all individually and knew that they enjoyed the network. Because one of the things that I was, a slight aside, one of the things that I was concerned about with the acquisition is that the fans of 70 decibels wouldn't be happy about it. Like, you know, that I was no longer independent.
Oh, but getting acquired by 5x5 isn't really like, you weren't acquired by demand, you know.
Exactly. I mean, and also, it wasn't like I was acquired by a network that nobody loves, you know.
Yeah, the opposite happened basically.
Yeah, exactly. And has made things and will continue to make things more awesome. But yeah, they do a show called Too Lazy to Blog, and the three of them together, all three of them, very talented podcasters, and I think that they all have, if they want it, you know, a future in this stuff. If they want it. And the three of them together have a great chemistry that I enjoy. Unprofessional on Mule, I enjoy. That's fun. I think that's kind of it, really. Like, of the sort of the regular shows that I listen to that aren't big network stuff. You know, I love Accidental Tech Podcast, Back to Work.
Yeah.
You know, all of those great shows, you know, Screen Time, Comic Shack. Mac Power Users, in beta. I listen to so many shows, like it's ridiculous. I have like 60 podcast subscriptions.
Yeah, my Pocket Casts look the same basically. So, and speaking of Pocket Casts, like the last part of my show is always the hardware and software you use.
Sure, yeah.
So we're not going to go into podcasting here because that's just interesting to me and you and 7 other people. But
yeah,
like, what's your main machine and your phone? I know your phone situation, but yeah.
So I use a Nexus 4 at the moment, which I love. I love my Nexus 4, and I use a 13-inch Retina MacBook Pro. I don't record onto this, but this is my computer. I record onto a Mac Mini. So I'm not using this. Well, with my setup, I actually couldn't use the MacBook Pro. Doesn't have an audio in. But I wouldn't want to record, and I used to, but I wouldn't want to now record and keep up show notes and stuff on the same machine at the same time. That just seems dangerous.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have a dedicated machine that just does the recording because so many things can go wrong.
Yeah, you just don't want to mess with that, right? You want to just leave that alone to do its thing.
Yeah. Okay, and on the software side, the apps you actually use, that's the phrasing I use.
Should I talk about some Android apps then?
Yeah.
So my favorite apps on Android, Pocket Casts is fantastic. Falcon Pro for Twitter, I love. Press, which is a fantastic RSS reader. Robin, which is a great app.NET client. I use Astrid Tasks. It's unfortunately going away soon because Yahoo have bought it.
Yahoo bought them?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I missed that one. Okay.
Evernote. I've been getting more into Evernote again. And then on the Mac, I use Tweetbot, Reader, Instacast, Audio, and I recently switched to Google Chrome from Safari because the more information I put into Google, the better my experience is, in my opinion.
Yeah, but they're evil and they're going to abuse it and blah, blah, blah.
Apparently so, right? This is what the internet's telling me.
Yeah. I'm with you guys. I don't care.
No, I don't care either. I mean, as I said to somebody who was saying like, they have so much information, I don't trust them. It's like, well, who do you trust? Like, what company do you trust then?
Yeah, because I don't get the distinction really. Like when it all boils down, I don't get what the difference is between like Apple having your like credit card information and Google having it.
Yeah.
I understand they're selling ads against it, but it's still a corporation. I don't see the distinction really.
I agree. I mean, because yes, they are selling ads against that information. I understand that. Of course, that makes sense that they will use that back to me. But just because Apple isn't selling ads doesn't mean they're not using the information for something else.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I love the people that just say, I'm not going to give Google my phone number. And I'm like, dude, 17 people have already done that.
It's too late. If you know somebody who is connected to the internet, Google has all of the information on you that they already need.
Yeah.
I just think to myself, what's the worst that's going to happen? Really, what is the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, and the thing is, I just talked to somebody last week who was set against giving Google anything, and that's why they were on Yahoo.
Perfectly safe then. No problem to worry about Yahoo.
Because they're great with this kind of stuff. So,
they're not a company that's in trouble.
That's another reason I like Bionic, because you guys, that's my sentiment exactly. And everything I write and say is in that vein. And that's one of those things that I'm just finally somebody. Okay. And then my last question. This is the last one. Is there a piece of hardware or just something physical, something you can hold that was the best thing that ever happened to you? And I know everybody says the iPhone and whatever, but anything, it can be I had people saying electric kettles to me and room heaters and stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be techie, but just a piece of hardware that really felt like it was made for you.
Oh man. See, that's such a hard question to not say the iPhone or the iPad, right? Because of what they did, they revolutionized the way that we communicate. So it's difficult to not say that. I'm now looking around and trying to find something that I can tell you other than that. And I don't know, maybe my microphone.
I'll buy that. Yeah. Which is what now?
I use a Hurley PR40.
Oh, okay. The one with the screen that looks like a monocle, right?
Yeah. You have to buy one of those, but I have the little monocle screen, the pop filter. I don't have everything that I need to make this microphone sound as good as it could. I am aware that I need preamps and all these things. But I feel that the way it sounds at the moment is much better than my microphone sounded before. So you all have the day to look forward to when my voice sounds even better. But this microphone allows me to do something that I love. And it's changed my life. I've had microphones before this, so, my Blue Yeti is also very important to me, which is why it still sits on my desk.
I'm talking into one right now, so I get that.
I think it's a great mic. It's not the best USB mic, but it's a great one to start with. They are also, for me, in my opinion, paving the way to the future of my career. I do believe I still have my fingers crossed for this year, but that I will be able to take podcasting full time. It will happen, just a matter of when.
Yeah, and when that does, I'm going to be happy as always for you guys.
And that's one of the reasons I think it will happen is because there are people that want it to happen that aren't me, and I think that's important because that means people will be there to support me and follow me. Because if nobody's listening, if nobody cares, nobody listens, then I won't have a job.
Okay, we have to end more upbeat than that. So you're going to do this full time. Just say that sentence and then we can stop.
I'm going to do this full time.
Mike, where can people find you online? I just wanted to say that to you, so just do your thing.
5by5.tv. That's where you'll go to find most of my podcasts. Very soon, all of them. I'm on Twitter and app.net. I'm iMyke, IMYKE. I think that's it.
Okay, that's it. That's all I have. It's 55 minutes.
That's good.
To je bila 21. epizoda Aparatusa, ki je Majka najdete na netu, je že sam povedal, jaz sem na Twitterju @anzet. Če ste se slučajno naročili na podcast v iTunesih, bo pa kakršnakoli cena tam dobrodošla. To je do naslednje srede to. Čau.